Just a friendly reminder that the opinions expressed on this show are not worth a Canadian penny, so disregard anything you hear that might get anyone in trouble. And despite some of the great ideas you may hear, don't try them at home. Go to a friend's house instead.
It's time to get a gun. That's what I've been thinking. Well, I could afford one. And if I did just a little less drinking, time to put something between me and the sun. When the talking is over, it's time to get a gun.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of Slamfire Radio for September 26, 2013. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew the Warning Shot McClatchy.
I'm Ron freaking Burgundy.
No, apparently you're not Ron Burgundy.
Yes, I am. I am. Take somebody shooting. We're out. Matthew, why don't you introduce our guest?
We have a very special guest this week. It's Rod Gila. Did I say that right, Rod?
You sure did, yep.
Awesome. I'm impressed when I can say other people's last names, and I'm more impressed when people can say my last name. But welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here. And you have like a YouTube channel and stuff like that, yeah?
This is true.
Now, see, that we could edit, but we won't. That's something that's staying in. Classic.
Yeah, so you got a YouTube channel. You do, it's Civil Advantage, yeah?
Yeah, the name of the company is Civil Advantage Firearms Training. And, of course, we have the YouTube channel. But we're a firearms training company, and we do a variety of different things. We do the Canadian Firearms Safety Course, and we also do some Simunition training, force-on-force training for law enforcement and for civilians, and so a few other things. But yeah, that's basically what we do.
Very
Awesome.
cool. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But what we normally do to kick off the show is we all go through what we've kind of done with guns in the past week or so. So what have you done with guns recently?
You're throwing it right on me right off the bat, huh?
Yep. It's all
Okay.
you, buddy.
Fair enough. And you know what? I was prepared.
Oh, very good. That's unfortunate, though. It doesn't make for good radio.
Okay, well, just let me read my notes. No, actually, I had a pretty busy week with firearms. The weekend before last, I know it's more than a week, but I got to stretch it out a little bit. But I did do some tactical shooting with my my little shooting gang. I don't like it when we call it a gang because obviously we get on the radar.
Right.
I was just going to wonder about that, yeah.
You and your homies, huh? Down in the hood.
Exactly, yeah. But no, we did a little tactical shoot over at the Abbotsford Fish and Game Club. And the really interesting thing that we did with firearms was last Thursday at the Abbotsford Fish and Game Club, we had Ladies' Night.
Nice.
That is cool.
And it was it's the first one that I've organized. And, so I was, I had some expectations. I thought, okay, it'd be great if we got, 15 at least women there. We had 30 ladies, and that was we had 29, and that was after 9 no-shows.
Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive.
It was hopping. And what the object of the night was just to get people that had never shot before, all of the female persuasion, because this is a group that we need the support of. Mm-hmm. In the firearms community, obviously, for a variety of reasons. But it was fantastic. We started it out at 7:00. We blocked off one of our ranges for this, which is a 60-yard range, beautiful. And I think we charged $35. That included all the ammunition, and we had 9 stations. So ARs, I had my SU-16 out, a friend of mine's CZ-858 in case it becomes prohibited. And I knew a guy that had a CZ-858 there, but I don't know where he lives. And we had some pistols and some 22s. It was fantastic. By the time the ladies left, we had to kick them off the range. We wanted to go till 9:30. We had to kick them off there at 10 because legally we couldn't shoot after 10.
Right.
So it was fantastic. Yeah.
That's really cool. I like it.
Yeah.
I like to hear about stuff like that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Trev, but wasn't the Abbotsford Fish and Game Club the same club that Mike Dixon belonged to?
You
don't remember?
Well, he didn't shoot there enough to talk about it, so yes, actually, I believe you are correct. I like how it's years later and we can still make fun of him for not shooting enough.
Still funny. Do you happen to know Mike at all, Rod? Mike Dixon?
Well, we have 1,000 members.
Oh, okay, so never mind then. So it's like somebody going, "Oh, you live in Canada? Do you know Mike?"
Office
Yeah, Mike guy?
I know Office Mike. Yeah. All right. Well, never mind then.
Yeah,
I didn't really see clubs around here are a lot smaller. Florenceville Rifle and Pistol Club has like 30 members, so chances of running into another member are pretty good. But I guess if you got 1,000 members, yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, it gets a little difficult. Do you know Mike? He shoots guns.
Oh yeah, no, Gun Mike. Yeah, no, I know him. Very cool. So what else have you done? As if that's not enough.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
That is pretty good. That's good.
Yeah, when you take somebody shooting, you get really serious about it. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, we took 30 people shooting, so that was fantastic. Yeah.
Very cool.
Excellent. And what other types of training do you do?
Well, we do some other stuff that's quite unique. One of the things that, because I got into guns at a little older age, I remember what that process was very clearly. And there's actually a story that I tell in the firearm safety course of some of my first experiences with firearms, because in Canada, we have to get licensed and we have to take the 2-day course. That's true. But after that, you get a license and it's like, well, here, go buy your guns and go to the range and try to remember everything and don't get shot or shoot somebody. That's about it. So yeah, right. I mean, I made a few mistakes myself, and so something that I thought was really lacking.
Did when you made a mistake, did you put it on YouTube?
No.
So you're smarter than Trevor and I then. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I put lots of mistakes on YouTube, and none that are would result.
None that shut down a range though.
Yeah, or result in property damage or death.
Oh, yeah, no, we didn't do any of that, but,
And technically speaking, our video did not shut down the range.
No, it didn't.
It was used as an excuse to go inspect a range and then found reasons to shut it down.
Yeah, it was funnier the other way, though, but that's okay.
Well, that story's still going around this area, so.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. You're still catching flack for that, for something that's not even your fault, but anyway, whatever. Yeah. It's still funny to me, so.
Yeah, to you, yeah.
Yeah.
So, carry on, Rod.
Where were you again?
I don't know. Where was I? But yeah, something that I thought was really lacking was a beginner's course and it's live fire. So where you can actually go onto the range with an instructor, shoot 5 different guns, and come off the range with an instructor. And that's not something that's so we do offer something like that. And there's a video on that on the YouTube channel. But that's been a pretty good opportunity for people getting into the sport, because it's very inexpensive. I think we charge $140 for that, including all the ammunition, the range fee. You get to shoot an AR, the CZ858. What else? 9mm pistol, the Glock, or the SIG, whichever one you want, and 12-gauge shotgun, and I think an SKS. Anyway, it changes, but it's pretty unique in that you don't need a PAL to do that. When people come through the PAL course, I say, hey, listen, between now and when you get your license, if you want to do one of these, no problem. I'll come and do that one with you. And it's made a lot of people a lot more comfortable.
Well, that's really cool because, they actually get some practical shooting time in and get to actually shoot some guns under the direction of somebody who knows what they're doing. They can that first range trip is now so much less stressful because they've actually done it before.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it would speed up the process immensely for people not knowing what to get, where to go, what they like. They get to try different types of firearms, and then they've now narrowed their search and can start buying right away when their license comes in. I went 7 years before I bought my first restricted after I got my restricted license.
You did get slightly sidetracked, though.
Yeah, I was involved in competitive archery, but still, if something like this existed, I probably would have gotten off my butt and spent some money and got out shooting a lot sooner. This is you need to actually pass a road test before they'll give you a driver's license, but you don't have to pass a shooting test before they give you a gun license. And you can get in the whole debate, well, should we even have gun licenses in the first place? But it's just kind of, again, a law is a law or a law isn't a law. Here they license you to have a firearm, but they never actually check and see if you know how to use said firearm. So you're filling a niche, a very important niche too.
I like it.
Yeah. Maybe some of these people will go, maybe, and some of them probably for the best, will go out and try a gun and then think, maybe I shouldn't get a gun.
And more importantly, maybe some of these people won't get involved in competitive archery.
Prevention is the key. Yeah, prevention is the key.
Yeah, gun owners keeping people out of archery.
That's right. That's my goal in my gun owner career.
Group. Yeah.
So pay it forward.
One of the things I'd like to say about your YouTube channel is on a couple of the videos, I've noticed a bit of a theme where you focused on some of the Canadian firearms, and I don't mean, and they're not all necessarily made in Canada, but you focused on some of the firearms that we can get that the Americans can't get. You pointed out differences with certain firearms that we get up here that they don't have down there. There's a real Canadian flavor to firearms ownership in your channel. Like, there's no question when you get on there, you know that within the first couple of seconds you're watching a Canadian who's in love with gun culture talking about guns in Canada and gun ownership in Canada. It's very, very well done.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm doing the best that I can with my $8 budget. You know.
There you go. Yeah, well, you're stretching it a long way. You're doing good. So
yeah.
And what about?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was trying to squeeze in a question. I listened to last week's podcast, and you guys had Jeff Atkinson, the ATC holder.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. See how well researched I am.
Quite. You spent an hour and a half of your time listening to our show. You are clearly, demented. So.
We're sorry. Yeah.
But I had a question. You know, you guys covered a lot of stuff with him, but my question, I don't know if you guys have the answer to it, is does he have an ATT to take his restricted firearm from his home to any wooded area in the province?
I think the ATC, it's rolled into the ATC, right?
I don't know. That's a good question. Jeff, send us an email, man, or contact me on Facebook or Skype. Yeah, we'll bring that answer to you next week.
Yeah, because I would imagine that even if he's got an authorization to carry, it's an authorization to carry only at his job, right? So he's got to get the gun there somehow. That's
right. Yeah, so technically, if he's on his way out to work and he gets pulled over for speeding, the cop says, "Oh, you got a gun in the car. Can I say your ATT for that?" Well,
no, but
here's my ATC, and you would hope that that common sense would kick in there, and the cop would go, "Okay, yeah, very good, you're on your way." But then again, maybe not. Yeah, I know. What? What world are you living in, McClatchy? Exactly. No idea.
Where you been shooting?
New Brunswick, apparently. So.
Yeah, it's almost as free as Alberta.
Oh no, only in my school. That's it. But yeah, very good. All right. What did you have something else for him, Trevor?
I had. I think it's gone. Oh, hunting. Any? You do any hunting, Rod?
Well, I have mentioned on a couple of the videos I'm not a hunter, and I have to use that as a pretty obvious disclaimer because things like why is a 22 important, stuff like that, and I'm really upfront about it. I have to get this admission out. I've never been hunting ever.
You got to work on that.
I know. But here's the thing. I never grew up around guns. I never knew anybody that hunted, and I just wasn't there. Now I do have one guy that came through the course that I was friends with, and he got into hunting, and he's invited me several times. But I'm working during the week in my manufacturing business and firearms as well, and then teaching on the weekends. So it doesn't leave me a lot of time to get out there and learn, right? But
that's
something
true.
I'd love to do.
Yeah. And that's how you do it. You get into it with somebody who's already into it, right? Yeah. And what about competition shooting, IPSC or IDPA, or have you ever tried any of that stuff, 3-gun?
Well, that's another thing. I have done some 3-gun stuff, but casual stuff, and at a range, just kind of drop in. But again, I just don't have that extra time in my life to really do a lot of hobby shooting. I try to keep my skills up in tactical shooting because I think that's a good skill to have.
Yep, it's definitely and a perishable skill. We've talked about it before, where you actually need to practice doing that. It's not like riding a bike; you forget.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and those are very fine skills, motor skills that that you're having to perform under stress. Luckily for me, I've been able to do enough Simunition training as we talked about, force training, tactical shooting. I've gotten a lot more experience than your average civilian. I still would consider myself a average shooter. Don't get me wrong, but so luckily I've got a good head start on it. But that's probably the only thing I really have time to keep up with, to be honest.
Now let's talk about the Simunition training just for a quick sec. This is the question everybody asks, right? How much does it hurt?
Well, the projectile itself was designed specifically to not be a firearm, but to be as close to a firearm as possible. So those little pellets run at about 450 feet per second. That's
moving.
It is moving, and it's a small projectile. So probably the worst injury is when you get it either in the neck, if you get it in the neck, or the knuckles.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Oh, it just smushes your skin right off your knuckles.
Yep.
You're bleeding.
Yep.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, that's
you want to train people to understand that when you get shot, it's not a pleasant experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it's stress inoculation, right? So you want people to get hit in the morning, and you want them to feel that stress, because that's the only way they're going to get any kind of value out of that kind of training. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. So you just line them up, right? Like firing squad is the first event
thing. Yep.
All right, boys, up against the wall.
Everybody lift your shirts up, Yeah.
Right in the nipple. Ow.
That's gonna.
But you get to see some good stuff. You get to see some different people and how they react to stress, and it is always kind of surprising to me, because I shoot with a lot of different people, a lot of people that are absolute gun fanatics, tactical guys, and some of them respond really well in that environment when there's people shooting back at them, and some don't.
Yeah, that's why I want to get in that environment, because I want to know how I will respond. Like we talked about this with Daniel Shaw. He's a former Marine who's starting a training academy, and a lot of people in the United States are going and taking training courses so that they can be better with their firearm, because they've got a concealed carry permit, and you're standing on a line and you're shooting at a target that doesn't move, and you're just standing stationary in the line, in perfect stance, in perfect concentration.
That's not really going to teach you anything whenever you get into an actual dynamic shooting situation.
Even in Masada Youb's course that I took, Mag 40, there's a stress fire, he calls it. But it's not as stressful as when you're in a house
and getting shot at.
Somebody shooting back at you. Yeah, you got to know how you're going to respond in that situation, and you'd like to do it under controlled circumstances if possible. So you hope that, like I hope I won't just start crying and pee myself, but I can't guarantee that.
If you do, I'll try my best to get it on YouTube.
No, just shoot me. If Matthew, if a firefight ever breaks out and I start cowering and crying, if the other guy doesn't get me first, I need you to put one into me. So I'll never live it down.
This is getting a little dark.
That's where we go, the dark side of the moon.
We go there,
yeah, put me down.
Yeah. Put me down, boy. I'm useless.
That's right. I'm crying. Put me down.
All right. Well, let's move on to something a bit more depressing. Rod, you and I, we've talked about Canadian gun culture a bit, and you asked me this question on your show, so I'm going to ask you: where do you think we're heading in Canada, gun culture wise, and with with the recent turn of events, fairly recent, losing the long gun registry and stuff like that? So, just kind of give me your synopsis of where you feel we are in Canada, and where do you think we're headed?
Well, that's a pretty big question.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too when you popped it on me. So there you go.
Yeah, I think we're heading in the right direction. And we were talking yesterday, and I was for Trevor, because you weren't part of that conversation.
And that was on purpose, Trevor, just so you know.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, I was like, man, Matthew, I got all this information for you, and I don't want to talk hip sick right now.
Right.
So.
Somebody's locking and loading.
That was coincidental.
Sure it was.
Someone has anger issues. Yeah. But no, we were having a good little chat, and what I had mentioned to Matthew was that I was reading something on a very large firearms forum in Canada here, and Matthew knows I don't like to advertise to people that restrict you from even using your name in case that leads to benefit for you.
Yeah, right on. Good for you. I should adopt the same philosophy.
Well, anyway, what comes around goes around. But in any case, what I had read on this particular forum was some information on now what do we call this thing? It's the policy priority resolution document for the Canadian Conservative Party.
Right.
And what that is their basically their theology of how they come up with campaign promises for their next election cycle. And so I ended up looking through this document. I actually have it right here, which is kind of cool. And there's some really, really interesting things. Now, before we kind of talk about these, we have to do a little reality check. Are the Conservatives going to get elected again? Who knows, right? But I'll tell you.
So, but it's going to be what it is. So.
Well, I was hoping for the shiny pony myself.
Yeah, and we're done. Thanks for joining us, Rod.
Exactly. Yeah. JT as we call him. But I in my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. But that would be a real setback for us. But we don't have to talk about all these different things that they got in here. But I'm really surprised. We've got some information that they're going over that they're going to put forward to put into their platform that reflects that private ownership of firearms is a right first, not a privilege. A right that if you want to take away that right, you have to come up with legal grounds to do that. Right now, it's a privilege, and it's up to you to prove that you're worthy to own a firearm.
Right.
Also, they're looking at introducing more legislation to heighten, to have a priority on citizens' rights when it comes to use of a firearm for self-defense, than criminal rights. And I know it's quite a crazy concept, but these guys are loose cannons when it comes to that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. What else? Oh, they want to redo the way that revise the way that reclassification takes place.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Especially if it made more sense instead of less sense, because I don't think it could make less sense as it is right now.
It's unbelievable. Some of the stuff. I mean, you guys know, right? We're all living it as firearm owners, but you couldn't make it up. You couldn't tell somebody a story that didn't know about gun laws and say, "Oh yeah, and here's what we do," and they're just they'd be face bombing themselves constantly, right?
Yep.
And what else? So reclassification is going to get, and they want to rewrite the Firearms Act to make sure that the language is a lot more clear on what the Firearms Act's trying to do and how it would be interpreted in court. So
I like the majority of those. I mean, I really like the part where it says they're looking at making firearms ownership a right as opposed to a privilege, and that's the way it should be.
Well,
as with all personal property, you have the right to own whatever the heck you want to own.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
I really like that part. So I'm really hoping that part goes through.
So I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of maybe Harper and the boys get back in. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a conservative party. Like, I'm not even a member of the Conservative Party. To be honest with you, I voted in the last 3 elections Conservative. I don't agree with everything that those guys do, but that's just part of being in a representative democracy, not a direct democracy, right?
Right. Yeah.
You elect a guy, and it's like, okay, well, I hope the ride's not going to be too rough.
That's right. You vote for the guy that's the least amount of evil kind of thing. Well,
yeah. I mean, without I don't want to get too hard on them, but yeah,
sure.
I don't agree with everything. But I'll tell you, the common sense, and this is something that we talked about briefly in our interview for the YouTube channel, is that the one thing unique about the Conservatives is, as long as I've been voting age or old enough to remember, to be aware of my place in society, I don't ever remember having more rights at the end of a government's term than I did at the beginning. It's
That's
always
right.
less rights.
Yeah.
And this is unprecedented in my history in Canada, that's for sure. So I think it's going in the right direction. Long answer.
So long as, like you said, the shiny pony doesn't get in.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? I mean, this guy,
we'd be done. It'd just be over.
It's funny because I have people, they're like, oh, don't underestimate,
Don't underestimate.
Don't underestimate. His dad was a big figure, and he's the son. He's good looking, and he's from
He's
Quebec.
good looking. There you go. That's the one reason to vote for him. Are you kidding me?
Some people will just.
I know. That really irritates
geez.
me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man! And my response to that is, but you know what? Sooner or later, he's going to have to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And when he does, he sinks himself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all over. I think I just saw my buddy JT there on a clip. I think it was about 2 months ago, and I thought, oh, he's going to talk. I better pay attention to make sure I'm not spreading disinfo. And sure enough,
you were not disappointed, huh?
Oh, he never disappoints, because I think he spoke for about 120 seconds straight, and he said nothing.
It's amazing how politicians can do that, huh? They just spew nothingness.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, he didn't say anything. I'm like, okay. Hopefully the populace is smart enough to see past that.
Yeah, I hope so. And well, the thing is, like you said, though, I mean, it's almost like a celebrity and what do you call that? Popularity contest. Who's the prettiest? Who's the best looking? And for some people, that's literally what they vote for. So, I hope that does not happen this time around.
Yeah, that's very indicative of U.S. politics, where a lot of it, I mean, like the lies are incredible. Where they're like, here's what I'm going to do, and they just flat out just don't do it. They do the opposite.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's accepted. Yeah, and it's accepted. Whereas in Canada, it's a little bit different. We're not so much into the flashy politicians. Well, I mean, Harper's pretty flashy, agreed. But
sure,
exactly, in a really not flashy kind of way. But
right, yeah.
Harper's just like, here's what I am. This is it. I'm not going to dance for you. I'm not going to go play a saxophone on Jay Leno. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean, right? That's Canadian politics is what it should be, which is, I'm hired to do a job and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I hopefully we haven't moved so much, towards a U.S. style politics where just because somebody's dad, there's all this great footage of Trudeau, fingering the media that we think that his son would be a good fit. I mean, based on no substance. Yeah, that'd be a nightmare. That'd be a rough ride, guys.
It would be. It'd be. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, the Liberals have said they want to just basically ban all semi-autos, all pistols. Like they'd just basically take away everything except single shot shotguns and 22s, probably.
Come and take it.
Yeah. That's that should be the cry. At least I would hope it would be.
Yeah, I'm not saying that literally so that the ERT doesn't kick my door in later this evening.
No, not in that, but in a more of on a soapbox, and we're going to vote you back out of office as quick as we voted you in sort of way.
Well, I see some of the changes that the Conservatives have made. They've made them so quickly and not brutally, but we have a mandate and we're making these changes. We promised we'd do it. I'm getting lightheaded, because a politician, actually
kept their
fulfilled
word.
Their promise. Yeah, exactly. Now I'm all disoriented.
Yeah.
But, it was almost punitive in a sense, because as soon as they got a majority, that the registry was gone in like 5 months, right?
It was the fastest I've ever seen a law go through.
Absolutely, right? So hopefully that if someone else gets a majority, that it's not as punitive the other way. I don't think so, but the one thing that we did prove as a community is that there's enough of us and we're active enough to actually change a government.
Mm-hmm.
The Liberals got absolutely decimated, and they've been the de facto ruling party for 40 years. Yeah. And, I think now I'm thinking, and I'm just, talking up,
it's usually the best stuff. So roll with it.
but I'm thinking that even in another election, if the Liberals or the NDP come up with something like, we're gonna ban semi-autos, there's so many of us, and we've proven ourselves to be such a political force to be reckoned with, that that would be a deal breaker for them to ever get into a majority government. That's what I'm thinking.
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
I'm seeing that. Yeah.
Well, I think we've definitely gone into the political spectrum as far as we need to. Yeah, agreed, Trevor?
Well, you can tell because I didn't say anything, right?
That's right. So let's go back. Let's go back to guns real quick. Now, I don't want to know, exactly what you own, Rod, but can you give the listeners kind of an idea what kind of quote
flavor.
Unquote arsenal is? What kind of flavor do you like
taste.
in guns? Yeah.
Well, it's pretty simple. I have a few guns that are my, the guns that I shoot, which, so I bucked up for the Glock as my pistol, and that I would have to say that's my favorite pistol.
The Glock, you do enjoy that. And what Glock do you have?
17. Pay attention.
Model 17, yeah.
I try not to listen if I can help it, Trevor. You know that.
You do a good job.
Hey, I have to assume that sometimes listeners don't listen too, and so I repeat the obvious questions to help them out. That's what I'm going with. That's what I'm going with. Leave me alone.
You're insulting the intelligence of our listeners. What else, Rod?
Well, I
thought you
have.
were going to say what else is new, because that's never mind. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I've got the Glock. That's my personal go-to pistol, and that's the first firearm I ever bought, and it's still running. And it's probably going on. Geez, I would imagine over 20,000 rounds.
How many different parts have you put in? Like, other than factory
here
parts.
we go.
Like, have you tuned it up and
Nope.
swapped everything out?
Running at factory stock. That's why it's still running.
Oh, and it works properly.
It sure
Yeah,
does.
I don't tinker with my guns that way, actually, because I don't do any competition shooting, right?
Right.
So
Look at him
everything.
being all nice to you, Trevor. He doesn't listen to the show nearly enough.
Hey, my Glock 17 is factory stock too.
What is it?
All right, it's got a tungsten guide rod on it. That's
Are you sure that's it?
it. That's it. No, that's
Okay.
it. The connector was changed, but it's still a factory.
It's
Glock.
still a factory connector,
Yeah.
so that's okay then.
So
Yeah.
shut it. What else, Rod?
Well, but with the Glock, the only thing I've ever replaced on it after all those rounds is the recoil spring. That's it.
And that's like tires in your car. That's supposed to wear out, so that's fine.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. And then I have a couple of ARs. You guys have seen the ones in the video. I have my original Norinco AR. I took a chance back when they were supposed to be improved, when they actually were anodized instead of parkerized. And that one's still running. It's a funny thing about the AR is I was over 8,000 rounds without a single malfunction. I was bragging about that. And then at the same time, if you saw the last video I put up there, I was bragging about this Norinco ammunition, this 223 I've been getting, and I bought in bulk, as I like to buy.
Yeah, we're buying the same stuff too. It comes in either yellow boxes or the spam can, right?
Yeah, I was getting the yellow box of stuff, but I was getting that, and I know I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get somebody in trouble, but I was getting it for, what was it, $380 for 1,600 rounds.
Yep, there's a lot of people in trouble right now. I need names, I need telephone numbers.
I've already been reprimanded, so I can't tell you who I got it from.
That's amazing, because
But-
I think the last case that Matthew and I split came up to over $500.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I had to drive a ways to pick that up. But anyway, I bought like 6 cases and
Yeah, rightfully
and
so.
sold one. But anyway, I was all hey, nobody gets ammo as cheap as me, and I'm sitting on all this ammo. Well, the primer started blowing out in the back of these cartridges during shooting, and so I had one primer come out, and that really it hit my original Norinco pretty hard. If you saw the video, basically the primer, I had a malfunction. I thought it was a double feed. I'm like, what the heck? And the bolt was stuck open, the bolt carrier, and I'm like, what's going on? Actually, it was only open about half an inch. And the charging handle was blocked. I couldn't pull it at all. I'm like, what the heck? So of course I made it safe. Went back to the bench. And what I ended up doing is I ended up having to take. Well, it wasn't a hammer, to be honest with you. It was the slide from my Glock, because I'm just such a Neanderthal. But that's what a Glock's for, man.
That's right.
I use a slide as a hammer to hammer that charging handle back to even open the action. And what had happened is that primer, the primer cap itself, was on top of the gas key up where the charging handle channel is, and the gun started malfunctioning from then on in. So I cleaned it. I did everything I could. It was unreliable.
Your gas tube.
You know what? I don't know.
I think your gas tube probably got bent out of alignment. It's not lining up with the key as well as it should be.
Well, it is back running again. So it was not running great, but it was running. So I'm like, okay, fine. And I do have a spare AR, which I'll tell you about in 2 seconds. But I went shooting, and this was back a couple of weeks ago, another little tactical shoot. So I went through a lot of rounds, and it ran relatively well. Boom, another primer comes apart and jams up the gun again. It wouldn't even fire. So I take it home, I disassemble it, and all these tiny pieces of brass, and it was almost like sand, but it was brass, like almost vaporized brass, came out of this thing. I cleaned the heck out of it, and then I shot something like 400 rounds the weekend before last, right when I went shooting there a couple weekends ago, and it was flawless. So the Norinco's back, but man, that ammo, I did get a good deal, but it caused me some issues.
Now, I haven't had any primers completely come out in my Norinco ammo, but I look at the back of the primer or the back of the case, and there's a hole completely punched into the primer. The primer's not just indented from the firing pin. There's a hole through the metal. Is that a sign of overpressure as well?
I think it's got more to do with how and you know who would really know something like that is somebody that reloads, and I don't. But I think maybe the primer is protruding a little bit too far out the back of the cartridge.
Oh, maybe so. Matthew,
that's a guess.
You had any issues with this ammo, Matthew?
I haven't had any issues yet. No, I haven't noticed.
Check your. You picking up the brass?
Owen has it all.
Okay, we check and see if there's any holes in the back of the primers because I've had several like that.
Interesting.
Where the primer's completely perforated.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check that out.
What's the other AR?
Well, the other AR was I had now this one I had problems. I never had issues with malfunctioning guns, right? And I always thought, I don't know what it is with people and they're saying they can't get their guns running. I've never had a problem with a gun. Yeah, until I bought this little guy. So that was the original 7.5-inch Stag AR-15, and except it was built custom built by a guy who will remain nameless. But anyway, this guy says that he's a weapons tech, and that's all cool. And I don't know anything to the contrary, but yeah, it never worked well from day one. So I ended up selling the upper because basically it just wouldn't cycle. And I did posts on forums. I talked to people that knew about gun. I did everything I could to fix this gun. I just couldn't fix it. So I ended up selling the upper. I got enough money to buy a brand new Norinco, the 10.5-inch upper, and popped it on that Stag lower, and it seems to work just fine. So it's a bit of a Franken gun, but that's my backup AR. So still a short barrel.
Neat.
And so I shoot that, and the SU-16 is actually I enjoy that firearm a lot, and it's a really lightweight, good kind of survival rifle-ish thing. If a 223 or a 5.56 is your idea of a survival rifle, but I mean it's 4.5 pounds, and I did buck up for some decent glass on it, a Nikon Pro Staff scope, which is okay. I'm not a long range shooter, but that's a good gun. I'd recommend that one.
Yeah,
and I don't shoot a lot of other stuff.
I had the trio. I had the SU-16, I had the Sub 2000, and I had the KSG, and I got rid of all of them.
And why did you get rid of? The KSG is actually not bad. What was the deal there?
Well, the KSG was bought for IPSC and then couldn't use it in IPSC, and it felt like the other Kel-Tecs, too cheap, too plasticky, and just the Sub 2000. I went and bought all the Redline Precision aluminum parts for it. I bought the aluminum quad rail that actually you can unlock and still rotate and put an optic on there and still fold up the gun. I also put the Redline Precision front sight on it. It took 1,000 rounds before it would be reliable and stop stovepiping on the last round, and then it ran flawlessly. But again, it was a plastic gun, plastic trigger. Taking it apart and putting all those little springs back together was ridiculous. And one day I closed the bolt on it, and the plastic feed ramp broke in half and fell to the bottom of the gun. I ordered the parts I needed from Kel-Tec. Vault sent them to me for free. I reassembled it and moved it out. It's a cheap gun, and it's way overpriced in Canada, in my opinion. The SU-16, I went and tacti-cooled that all up. I put the compact forend on it, and I put the AR stock on it with the pistol grip, and put the Redline Precision aluminum trigger in that. Now, that gun had a sweet trigger, better than any AR that I fired, as good as my single-stage JP Industries trigger in my STI. But it's a plastic receiver. It's a metal barrel mounted into a plastic receiver. I wanted it because it was a cool black non-restricted gun, but it was just too chintzy for me in the end. Pencil barrel. You can't do any amount of shooting with it before the barrel heats up and the rounds are just flinging off everywhere. And so
you were taking a rifle that was probably meant for survival or for a quick hunt, and then turning it into like a range gun. And so it was heating up too fast, of course, and with that small barrel, you were losing your accuracy. So
trying to turn something into an AR that wasn't an AR, right. So I just bought the AR, right?
That's right. That's exactly it. See, I still kind of want an SU-16 just for walking around in the woods with. It wouldn't be a tactical thing. It would just be a very lightweight 2-3 rifle. But
Matthew and I played with it one day at his range, Rod, and the front sight is adjustable, and we couldn't get the front sight post low enough into the front sight to get it to shoot past 50 meters.
That's frustrating.
The rear sight had to be pushed either all the way to the left or all the way to the right. I can't remember. I mean, and then you're mounting optics on a plastic rail as well. So just the whole thing is just nah.
Yeah, they are cheap plasticky guns. I had an sub 2000 as well, and I got rid of that one too, and for all the same reasons. I mean, the trigger in that gun was so awful. I had a hard time believing that their developers shot the thing and went, oh my god, this trigger is atrocious. But it's awful. It's like a cap gun trigger or something.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it?
And it has the weirdest. Oh, it's the weirdest recoil ever. I mean, it has muzzle rise, man, for a 9mm rifle.
Yeah.
Really mechanically strange. So I really didn't. It's a toy, right? It's a non-restricted. Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, I can fold it in half. I can put that in the back of the car. Whatever. That's the novelty of it. It's a novelty firearm.
Yeah, throw it in the backpack and take it hiking with you. But in New Brunswick, you couldn't take it with you in the summertime. You could only take it with you in the fall. So
we've got caliber restrictions here, unfortunately.
Anyway.
Which aren't in the Firearms Act.
That's right. They're in the New Brunswick hunting laws.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, yeah.
But I agree with you completely on the sub 2000. But the KSG, I had an opportunity to shoot that. I just put up a video, as you saw there, about 6 weeks ago, and it's cool. The only problem with those guns, like I love the fact that you have this auto changeover between tubes, and you can have a shotgun, pump action shotgun that's really lightweight, nice and short, and it's 14 rounds. The problem is there's just no way to load those fast.
No,
there's no way.
There's a lot of practice involved. Tip it on the side, and there's a bit of a feed ramp there, but still. Yeah. You're not loading it fast.
So if you got a Dominion Arms Grizzly, the nice, I got a couple of those, the little short guys, the 12.5-inch barrels, non-restricted, tubular magazine, old school. You can't miss. Throwing a round under there, a shotgun shell, and getting it in the tube. It can't go anywhere else but in the tube. And you can top it up in real time. You shoot tube, top it up right away. So it's an old system, but it still works good,
Have you played with the mag-fed ones?
Yeah, I have. My next door neighbor had one of those. One of the benefits to being a PAL instructor is you get to certify your entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, there are more guns in the 2 square blocks here than, I don't know.
Nice.
There's a lot of guns.
What did you think?
But I hate it.
Yeah.
And the reason. Okay, so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say reliability issues, right?
Yeah, it's this was a guy that I certified, and he's like, well, what should I buy? And I said, well, get yourself a shotgun. That's a good gun to start with. At least you have one, because it's a very versatile firearm. And I told him about the different guns, and he's like, well, I want to try that. I want to have that, I want to get that mag-fed one. I said, well, it's up to you, but I've had problems with them because I actually bought one and took it back.
Oh.
So we ended up getting it, and it would not feed reliably. And so we ended up emery clothing the magazines and trying to find all the little burrs and get them off and polish stuff inside all the parts so they'd run properly. He couldn't. It just was not reliable. And then, of course, you can't load it without a magazine, so that's bad. And those mags are super heavy, and I'm just not a fan of those, to be honest with you.
Ditto.
The tubular magazine version, completely reliable. Never had a misfire. Never had a problem. They're great, but the magazine fed, personally, I would stay away from them. If reliability is not a problem for you, you just want a toy or whatever, I think they'd be pretty good.
Good to know. Cool.
Yeah. So, but I have a variety of different firearms, and of course, tons and tons of guns in total because a lot of them are deactivated for the course. But yeah, I typically do tactical shooting. So I have the M14. I've got multiple SKSs. I really don't shoot much else. I just shoot what if I have time to shoot, I shoot the stuff that I should be shooting.
Makes sense. That's the way I like to do it too.
Yeah, that's why I'm selling off a bunch.
Yeah, beware the man with one gun, or, well, in realistic case, few guns.
Or 3 at least.
At least 3.
But you know what's exciting, though, is those T97s are out.
Yep, they are.
Really excited about that. Right now, I don't have the funds in the kitty to buy one of those. I'm hoping that somebody I know will get one so I can shoot it and videotape that and do a review. At least I get to take it for a spin. But what an exciting firearm to have in Canada finally.
Absolutely. Yep. Bullpup, black, scary, assault, quote-unquote assault weapon, but non-restricted, and you can play with it in the woods because, well, it's just another semi-automatic rifle, and that's the way it should be. So I'm very happy about that. It's probably not the gun for Trevor.
Nope.
I'd kind of like to have one, just again, kind of along the same lines as a SU-16, something to play with in the woods, something to carry with me when I'm out coyote hunting or whatever, just something cool. I don't think I would use it in competition though. It's too different from the AR. The manual of arms in the AR is just so natural that I don't think that I'd switch to something else.
I've got my XCR to fill that niche. Great all around. Kind of similar to the AR somewhat in the manual of arms, but I'm getting rid of it because I'm going to compete with ARs, so just going to shoot the AR, and if I got to go hunting, I'll take a bolt action with me. But my issue with the Norinco, other than the fact that it's Norinco, and I'm still not 100% on their reputation. The thing I dislike about it is not that it's a bullpup, is the carry handle. It makes it impossible to get a decent cheek weld if you put an optic on there.
Yeah, but you basically have to shoot it without an optic. You got to shoot just using the peep sights, I would think, to have a good cheek weld. I mean, you can put an optic on it. You're just going to have a chin weld instead of a cheek weld.
Yeah,
is all.
Yeah. So then it goes against
Yeah, well, if you're shooting 3-gun or just up close and personal stuff, that's not a big deal. It's not a great thing to be doing, but it can be done. I would probably still just shoot with the iron. So personally,
Well, I agree there. And if you do end up putting optics on there, some optics actually mount on top of the carry handle, so you're going to have this half a foot of sight offset.
That's the other issue.
Sight over bore. Yeah,
I hate that. I like my reticle to be as close to the bore as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, as far as me ever owning one, for one, it's $1,000. So a bullpup that is non-restricted for $1,000.
I mean,
that's a screaming deal.
It is.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
And like the Tavor, that's overpriced, right?
Well, that's the thing, and I would buy a Tavor if they were $1,500, right? Because they're a cool gun, but a gun like that for me would be like just a fun shooting gun. I mean, I'm kind of an AR fanatic. And I don't have to convince you guys about why that is. I mean,
we hate ARs here. No, tell us why ARs are good. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, they do suck. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But mine are garbage.
But I mean, they're just go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Trevor.
I'm like you, Rod. If I got it, it would just be a toy, and it would only be taken out once in a while.
Like all the guns you just sold off. So why buy another one like that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Very cool.
It would be a fun one to do a little running and gunning to try something different. But that's just kind of a cool one to have in the collection. I would have liked to shoot, and I know a couple of guys that have the RFB. Speaking of Kel-Tec, but I haven't shot one yet. But have you shot one of those, Trevor?
I have, and what I've said about the RFB is you're holding a Kel-Tec that does not feel like a Kel-Tec.
So that's a good thing then.
Yeah, it's almost like they had somebody else make it for them. It doesn't have the same chintzy feel as the other Kel-Tecs that I've handled. I like it. I would actually give Kel-Tec another go with that particular firearm. But again, that's an expensive firearm.
What about the fact that it's a 308 in a bullpup configuration? Was it a little heavy recoil, hard to control?
Nope.
No?
No, it was decent. Yeah, I shot it off of the bench. I'm sure, standing and shooting it while standing at a moose or something might be interesting. But
Well, that's the thing, though. I've always found off the bench, that's where I feel the most recoil. When I'm standing up, I feel hardly anything. It doesn't matter what I'm shooting.
It's just easier to shoot off the bench, but yeah,
it's easier to shoot off the bench accuracy-wise, but I feel way more recoil whenever I'm on the bench. I enjoy shooting most of my stuff offhand just because, well, I don't really like recoil a whole lot, so...
Yeah. So yeah, I like.
You don't like recoil?
Not a whole lot, no. I'm not a huge recoil
recoil's
fan.
So awesome.
He's the king of 22s.
I am. Yeah, I love my 22s and my 223s and my bird shot and my shotgun.
See, I get bored shooting rimfire at the range for that reason. I want to get knocked around a little bit. I get a rush.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
So, yeah. Suckers for punishment. That's all I gotta say.
Speaking of suckers for punishment, our listeners have been punished enough.
I think so. Let's go into the listener feedback here. Yeah.
Luckily, we've only got one, so why don't you take it?
We got one in an iTunes review. So
very good.
We can. Here's the email that comes to us from. Oh, he didn't put his name in. That's cool. Good job, Trevor.
Oh man, my cut and pasting skills are awful. You going to get it?
Yep. Grandin.
Yeah, especially because it's like it's third time he was written.
This is his third time he's written in. Anyway.
By heart, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. But anyway, Grandin, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, by the way. You can write in for the fourth time and let me know if I am. He writes, "Gentlemen, I've written SFR twice, and twice you've read my emails on an episode. You have emboldened me, and I offer you my third. First of all, I would like to congratulate Matthew on the pending arrival of his first child. And I'm going to stop you right there, Grandin. And didn't really make an announcement about this or anything, but unfortunately, Jewel and I are going to be trying again. So we'll just kind of move on from there. But we do appreciate the congratulations that we have got and the condolences from everybody else as well. But we're moving on from that, and we are going to try that again. So anyhow, continuing on with the email, he writes, "All of the IPSC talk on SFR intrigued me, and I was finally able to complete my Black Badge course on the first weekend in September. No match yet, just the course so far, but I'm looking to compete at least once before the end of the season. I should add that I wish to compete and avoid disqualification." So he must have one of those Black Badges where you don't actually shoot a mini match after the Black Badge, yeah?
Well, I think we're the only section that does that. Other ones go away and pick up a match wherever they can and then report back and get their certification then. Like, take Bolivar, for example. He's done everything except for his match, so he still doesn't have his certification.
I like it our way better.
Me too.
Gotta be honest with you. I mean, you go take your Black Badge, then you do a mini match, and then you're done. You don't have to worry about going to find another match. You just shoot it the same weekend you get your Black Badge, and everything's done in 3 days.
And all for $1.25.
Yeah. If you want your Black Badge, come to New Brunswick. We do it right. Anyway, he continues on. "While the Black Badge course is compulsory for IPSC, I highly recommend this course to anyone and everyone who is thinking of competing in any discipline of pistol shooting. I have been shooting IDPA since this spring, and unfortunately I have picked up a few bad habits along the way. Black Badge is a great introduction to the principles of safety and the fundamentals of accuracy. Excuse me, I mean...
Diligentia vis celeritas."
And he puts in there, "Crossing my fingers that Trevor reads this." Well, he certainly did. And I believe he got it right according to the experts online.
I'm an instructor. I'm required to know how to pronounce those words correctly.
You know, that's the first time you ever pronounced them correctly, yeah?
That is true.
Very good. And I do want to comment on that paragraph really quickly. I was kind of the same way. When I first started shooting pistols, I had absolutely zero training. I had nobody to mentor me. I just basically bought pistols once I got my restricted and went to the range and started shooting them. And same thing, learned a lot of bad habits. Taking the Black Badge course took my shooting from 10 all the way up to 11 kind of thing. You know, it went up to 11. And really, I wasn't at a 10. I was like at a 2.
And that being said, you now shoot better than almost everybody who helped teach you that day. Just saying.
Well, thank you, and this is getting uncomfortable, so I'm going to read his last paragraph here. By the way, I'm all about the production division, and my current battery is a CZ85 Combat with a CZ75B as my backup. I prefer a gun that is compliant for both IPSC production and IDPA SSP divisions. SSP must be service pistol something?
Sure. We'll go with that.
Okay. I don't know what SSP stands for. So again, in your fourth email, you can let us know.
It's called Stock Service Pistol.
Stock Service Pistol. That's it. Never mind on that fourth email, except for to let me know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I would be interested in a Glock 34, but it is apparently a standard division gun.
Yeah,
that's correct. The barrel is too long, unfortunately. The M&P Pro makes a production division, I know, but it's no G34. I'm looking for a long sight radius and consistent trigger pull. If you keep reading, I'll keep writing. À la prochaine. And he's crossing his fingers that Owen read that, but Owen's not here.
The Glock 34 versus MMP Pro?
I'd almost go M&P Pro.
Believe it or not, so would I. I was really impressed with the MMP Pro.
Yeah, Andy has one, and we all got to shoot it, and it worked very well. I really enjoyed that pistol. Very ergonomic, very comfortable. In fact, I would say it's more comfortable than the SR9 that I currently shoot, and I find my SR9 very comfortable. So,
if you compare a Glock 17 to a Glock 34, okay, the Glock 34 is supposed to be the competition version of the Glock 17. In fact, very little has been done to that gun to prepare it for competition.
It's just a longer barrel, longer barrel, slide. That's basically it.
Longer barrel, longer slide, adjustable rear sight, and a minus connector. If you look at what they did with the M&P and the M&P Pro, there's more attention and detail put into the M&P Pro compared to the M&P as opposed to the 17 and 34. So I think the M&P Pro out of the box is more suitable and ready for an IPSC match than a 34.
I would say, yeah, you're absolutely correct, Trevor. Yep, I would agree with all of that.
But if you were allowed to tune the gun, then you could go so much farther with your 34 than with the M&P Pro because the aftermarket parts are there, and the Glock 34 is a popular USPSA gun.
Yeah, but that being said, if you're staying in production division, why you're not allowed to tune it? And if you're going to mate or standard, why would you shoot a 34 when you can shoot a 35?
That's right. And why would you shoot a striker fired when you could shoot like a
1911?
A Tanfoglio stock 2.
That's true too. But I mean, some people like me prefer shooting more duty style guns as opposed to more competition style guns.
Yep. Also look into the Graham Powers, the rotating barrel, polymer frame, hammer fired. I can't wait to get my hands on one. It might be a better choice than, definitely a better choice than Glock 34, and maybe even a better choice than the M&P Pro.
Maybe check it out for sure.
So, iTunes review. What do you got?
I catch myself chuckling each episode by Willie Darren. And he left us 5 stars. He writes, greetings. And he misspelled greetings, but we'll let that go. He basically,
we're not letting it go if you point it out, though, are we?
He writes gratings, but that's okay. From the West. And first, I must say, after being away from firearms for over 20 years, I jumped back in with both feet. It is great to find a podcast which is informative, respectful, and down to earth. And then he found us, basically, is what happened. Since reviving my love for shooting, I have joined the local club, the KTSA, which is the Kamloops Target Shooting Association, and have got enough hunting tags to fund the government for a year. It seems I took for granted my youth in Saskatchewan shooting ducks, geese, and deer. But with that, my passion is being dispensed to my daughters, 2 girls, both in their 20s, of which one is waiting for her pal to arrive. I may shoot old tractor parts, i.e. 60-year-old military replicas, or relics, the TT-33 SKS Winchester Model 1200 and Remington 721, but I'm shooting, having a blast, and have taken 5 newbies to the range this summer alone. For your information, yeah, that's fantastic.
That's all in one iTunes review?
Yeah, this is all one iTunes review, and it's not done yet.
Okay.
This guy's amazing. He's doing a really good job with his shooting and stuff. Anyway, he continues on. For your information, I listened to episode 23. I felt for you all as you languish about moose straws. I'm packing as I listen. Moose limited entry next week in BC. Perhaps I'll move from World War II tractor parts to something new and try IPSC or such. But till then, I'll always invite the uninitiated to see what fun shooting can be. Keep up the great podcast, anyone. Hey, you should have the gals on too. For all the female listeners out there, my 2 daughters, he says. Take care, nice. Willie Darren, as iron sharpens iron, he signs off. So I guess his daughters want to hear some more female voices. So Owen will be back next week.
Oh!
Woo! Had to get him under the bus at some point.
Zynga, yeah. That's an excellent review. Thank you very much. Put a lot of time into that. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I don't know what this other respectful podcast is you're thinking of, but point us in the right direction, would you?
Please, yeah. I'd like to get some culture. More importantly, thank you for doing your part to help promote that culture by taking people out shooting.
Absolutely. That's the only way we're going to continue growing this sport and keeping it alive in Canada. That and voting conservative. So make sure you do both.
I concur.
Very good. So some shout-outs. Trevor, do you have any shout-outs?
No.
Oh, well, I have two. Actually, technically three. The first one is to Joe and Dan, which is kind of 2 in 1. They're from Michigan on their way to Newfoundland to hunt a moose, and they stopped and helped Jewel with her flat tire on Monday. So that was very cool of them.
Nice.
Was that actually Monday? That may have been another day, but whatever. The day she had her flat tire. So yeah. So Dan and Joe, thanks for stopping and helping out with that. And apparently it's Rod's birthday today. So Rod, happy birthday.
Oh, that's a surprise. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're like, what? Who's Rod and why is he having a birthday? No, it's you, man.
No,
it's your birthday.
Man.
So this is where Trevor sings you happy birthday.
No, this is actually not that part.
Nope. Actually, I've got a happy birthday song that I'm going to splice into this show because I'm putting the extra effort in for you.
You're gonna make me cry, man.
Cricket.
Yeah. Listen, and you'll see. So, thanks again for wasting an hour and a half of your time listening to us jabber on about guns. We really appreciate it. We love all of our listeners out there, and we wouldn't do this without you because we would, because this is basically how we started off, just talking and having fun. Yeah, Trev?
I do have a shout out.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, to Tommy from the Gun Dudes. We stretched this one out for you just because you commented last week on the Gun Dudes that our shows go long. So if you hadn't commented last week on the Gun Dudes that our shows go long, we wouldn't have taken the extra time and attention necessary to make this particular show go long just for you. So we hope that you appreciate the efforts we put into making the show go long for you because it's all about you, Tommy. Tactical Tommy from Utah, who I open carried with.
That was awesome. We technically could have cut this like half an hour ago, but we were having way too much fun, and Tommy was listening, and we needed to waste more of his time.
Absolutely.
Are we not having Tommy on next week?
I was just going to say that, yeah, but you beat me to it, you bum.
I do that sometimes.
Tommy will be on the Slamfire Radio show next week to discuss all things Tommy. Tommy's got a new training academy that he started. He's a certified Mag 40 instructor now. He just shot a 300 at the last Mag 40. And, that reminds me. Oh, did I mention that? I did. I already talked about it, how my student, my perfect score from last year stands. And, yeah, I can never talk about myself enough. You know that.
No, of course not.
So, yeah. No student shot a 300 at Mag 40 this year. But Tommy did, so that's cool. So, yeah, Tommy will be on with us next week to help us waste your time.
Very cool. Well, I do have a bit of an update on our Facebook race. The library is currently sitting at 258 likes, and we are now at 198 likes. So we're almost at 200, people.
Closing the gap.
So we're getting there. We're within Like,
we still suck. Don't get us wrong.
No, of course. We're not nearly as cool as they are yet, but we're getting there. So help us out. Go like us on Facebook. Also, go join one or both, preferably both, of our National Firearms Associations, the CSSA and the NFA. They do good things for you. Check us out on Gun Owners of Canada, and be sure to check out the other great shows on both the CRR Network and the Crusader Podcast Network. So, yeah. Rod, again, happy birthday, man. Thanks for joining us.
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
We're just sorry.
It's unfortunate, really, that it is the way it is.
We enjoyed having you. Clearly, we know you won't be back. We understand.
I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a great time.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, we enjoyed it, definitely. Cool. All right, folks, we will catch you next week. Trevor? Take somebody shooting.
Oh, take somebody shooting.
You did the Ron Burgundy thing earlier, remember?
It's my thing. I'll do it when I want.
All right. Take somebody Ron Burgundy?
I like it.
So if you have any comments or questions for the show, please send an email to slamfireradio@gmail.com. Now go grab a gun and shoot something.
When the talk